Okay, let's talk about taking notes. And I don't mean just, scribbling stuff down. I'm talking about creating notes that actually help you learn, remember, and, let's be honest, ace your exams. Today, we're going to unpack a really simple but incredibly powerful system to do just that, the Cornell Method.
Does this sound familiar? You spend an entire lecture just writing like crazy, but then you look back at your notes a week later and it's just a confusing mess. It almost feels like you're trying to decode something a stranger wrote. That feeling? That's the result of passive note-taking, and frankly, it's a huge waste of your time and energy.
Improve your grades. I mean, that's a pretty bold promise, right? But this isn't some kind of marketing gimmick. It's the core benefit that comes up again and again in research on this method. The Cornell system isn't about making your notes look prettier, it's a whole strategy, and it's engineered to make you actually understand and remember more of what you hear.
So here's the basic problem it's designed to solve. Most of us, when we're in a class, we're just acting like stenographers, right? We're just recording information without really thinking about it. Well, the Cornell method totally flips that around. It forces you to actively engage with the material, and that turns you from a passive listener into an active learner. And that's the whole key. It's a system, not just a way to format a page.
So, how does it actually work? Well, it all starts with the physical layout of your page. Before the lecture even kicks off, you're going to prep your notebook by dividing it into 3 very specific sections. This super simple structure, well, it's the backbone of the entire method. And this is what it looks like. See how simple that is? You don't need any special notebooks or apps. You can just draw this on any sheet of paper in like 5 seconds. The real power here isn't the layout itself, but in how each of these sections makes you think.
All right, let's start with that big section on the right. During the lecture, this is your main space. This is where you're capturing your notes. But the goal is not to write down every single word. No, instead, you want to focus on grabbing the key ideas, the important facts, and the main concepts. Just get the essence of it down on paper.
Now, let's talk about the column on the left, the Q column. This is where the magic really starts to happen, and it's something you do after the class is over. You go back through your main notes, and you pull out keywords, potential exam questions, or just simple little prompts, cues, that connect to the bigger ideas on the right. And the last piece of this puzzle is that summary area right at the bottom. This step forces you to synthesize everything on that page into just 1 or 2 core sentences. It's your chance to answer the question, okay, what was the single most important thing I learned on this page? So you've got the layout down. But how do you actually use it? Well, the whole process is guided by this simple but really powerful framework known as the 5 R's. You can think of this as the engine that drives the whole system, the thing that turns your raw notes into real, actual knowledge. And here they are, the 5 R's: record, reduce, recite, reflect, and review. Each one of these steps builds on the last one, creating this cycle that literally moves information from the page into your long-term memory. So let's break down exactly what each one of these means.
Okay, it all kicks off with record. This is what you're doing during the lecture, in that big right-hand column. You're simply capturing information, but the key here is to listen for meaningful ideas, not just trying to transcribe everything the professor is saying.
Second, you reduce. And this one is kind of time sensitive. You want to try to do it as soon as you can after the class ends. You're going to go back to your notes and boil down the main points into these short, powerful cues in that left column. This process of summarizing is what really starts to cement the information in your brain. It forces you to actually process it, not just mindlessly copy it.
Next up is probably the most powerful step of all, recite. You physically cover up the main notes section with your hand or another piece of paper. Now, looking only at your cues on the left, you try to explain the concepts out loud, in your own words. This is active recall, and it's the scientifically proven way to move knowledge into your long-term memory. Yeah, it feels like you're giving yourself a mini test, and that's exactly why it works so well.
The 4th R is to reflect. This is where you go from just memorizing facts to truly understanding them. You start asking yourself questions like, so what? Why does this even matter? Or, wait, how does this connect to what we talked about last week? This is how you build a real web of knowledge in your head, not just a list of random facts. And the final step is review. Think of this as your insurance policy against forgetting. A quick 10-minute scan of your notes each week is really all it takes. And because of all the active work you've already done, this review is incredibly fast, and it just locks that information in for the long haul. It's how you fight back against that natural forgetting curve. So when you put the page layout together with the 5 R's, you're left with something way more powerful than just a page of notes. What you really have is a complete study system that's designed to work with how your brain learns.
not against it.
So, why is this whole thing so effective? It's actually pretty simple. The system forces you to constantly process and clarify ideas, which naturally strengthens your memory. It basically builds exam prep into your weekly routine so you don't have to do those awful last-minute cram sessions. But the most important thing is, it turns note-taking from this boring passive chore into an active process of learning and discovery.
So really, it all comes down to this one question. Are your notes just going to be a passive graveyard for information you'll probably forget? Are they going to be an active tool for actually building knowledge? The choice is all yours. So why not give this a shot in your next class? I think you'll be amazed at the difference it makes.